This is my first YouTube video. I'm sure it's going to be a bit rough. Anyway, this video is in response to Ridiot. To Ridiot, let me start by saying I'm not offended by your thoughts from your past life, and although I very much disagree with your conclusions, I find your honesty refreshing and I appreciate your openness. After all, I think it's much better to be real than to go through life trying to fake it. From your videos, I think I have a decent understanding of where you're coming from, but our backgrounds, yours and mine, they're very different. Unlike you, I wasn't raised in a Christian home, and except maybe for funerals, I never went to church. In fact, I don't recall anyone ever sharing their faith with me. But perhaps I wasn't listening. I was more interested in science. I spent my youth fascinated by science and technology. I read a lot of science fiction. I loved Heinlein and Asimov, and I was absolutely captivated by the Apollo moon program. I guess you have to say that back then science was my god. In college I studied for and received a Bachelor of Science, but after closely examining science's claims about reality, I became skeptical. Now, science has been successful by looking for answers only through processes that can be seen in operation today. This works in most cases, but when it's applied too broadly, this commitment to materialism can lead to irrational answers. If a search for truth starts with the assumption that the visible is all that there is, then important aspects of reality may remain hidden. Can naturalistic rules be applied to look at events that occurred before these same rules were in place? Let me illustrate my point. No part of science is more colored by materialistic assumptions than the study of origins. But the origin of both the universe and of life remain a mystery to science. With regard to the origin of the universe, science believes that space, time, and the physical laws all came into being in an instant at the Big Bang. But since neither the physical laws nor even time existed before, if one can say before, the Big Bang, then the universe's existence can't be explained using known natural laws. In other words, the trigger for the Big Bang must have come from outside of the natural, a supernatural event. Another part of this problem is presented by the extreme fine-tuning of the universe's physical laws. If you change these only a little, then life as we know it is no longer possible. There are many examples here, including the strength of gravity, the rate of expansion of the universe, and the properties of various types of matter, such as water, which is an amazing substance if you look at it closely. Alter these only slightly, and we're just simply not here. But since the natural laws might logically have been different, it's reasonable to seek an explanation for these things. Now, Richard Dawkins, the outspoken evolutionist and author of The God Delusion, has ridiculed what he perceives to be blind faith in Christians. Now, I believe in confronting problems directly, and I don't understand why people bet their lives on what they can't rationally defend. So I listened to a lecture Dawkins gave last October. This lecture, Dawkins responded to a question relating to the origin of our physical laws, and he replied with an idea known as the multiverse. The multiverse idea says that we only find ourselves in a universe like ours because if our physical laws had been any different, then we could not have evolved to witness them. But by this way of thinking, since our natural laws are much too finely tuned to have arisen by chance in just one roll of the dice, then there must be a nearly infinite number of universes, each containing a very different set of physical laws. Our universe, and only by the luckiest of chances, got them just right. Now, despite having seen some of these other universes on Star Trek, I have one serious problem with this idea. There's absolutely no way to verify that these other realities actually exist. Where does this circular reasoning come from? It comes from a deep commitment to materialism. The multiverse idea attempts to explain the fine-tuning of the laws of nature by appealing to the infinite, the undetectable, and to us, the forever unknowable. Is this belief based upon evidence or upon blind faith? Another scientific enigma is the origin of the genetic code in life. Since evolution can't select an organism's beneficial traits without a mechanism for inheritance, then it can't explain the origin of the genetic code. For without these assembly instructions, acquired traits could not be preserved or passed on. Evolution would have no way to operate. So although evolution may be a viable explanation for how life survives in a changing environment, it can't explain life's origin. The prayer of the materialist is that billions and billions of years will provide enough time for chemical processes to create the genetic code in the first cell. But materialism has no explanation of the genetic code. And even the simplest cell is enormously complex and beyond the creative abilities of our 21st century technology. And when I was younger, things like these kept me searching for another answer. I looked at religions and philosophies, but all of them seemed self-contradictory and counterintuitive. That is, until I looked closely at Jesus of Nazareth. Now, even old Hollywood movies tell enough about Jesus to see the obvious pictures of him that are painted by ancient biblical prophecies such as Isaiah 53 and Psalm 22. And there are many other such prophecies in the Bible. These are books that were written hundreds of years before the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. Yet they perfectly predict his ministry, his death, and his resurrection. Also read in the New Testament book of John where Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." In spite of a few lingering doubts, these things and others led me to give my life to Jesus Christ when I was 28 years old. To skeptics I say this: if the Bible is viewed with the idea that there's nothing beyond what we can see and touch, and of course biblical miracles will be seen only as primitive superstition. But are we really so confident in our understanding of reality that we can completely discount the miraculous? If so, on what basis do we make this judgment? Richard Dawkins says that Christians have blind faith. Christians have fulfilled prophecy, historical evidence, and changed lives. What do materialists have? A closer look will show that Dawkins and other materialists have blind faith in materialism. Now, science is a great tool that can be very useful in the search for truth, but it has its limits. A real search for truth should be willing to look at all the evidence without banning unpopular results as out of bounds. Does the evidence point to purposeless materialism, or does it point to a creator? Are you willing to take a serious look at the evidence and let it speak for itself? Now, I don't claim to have all the answers. I'm just a very fallible human being like you. But I do believe that the truth can be approached rationally. The truth, if it's really the truth, will withstand a close examination. And I say, don't be afraid to dig deep. And don't give up, idiot. If you keep searching, you may yet find answers. Thank you for your time.